Get the fuck in here so we can start this shit, you fucking lazy ass audience. Get the fuck in here. Just, I don't know, I just did that. You guys fucking sleeping or some shit. Just get the fuck in here so we can start. I don't have a lot of time. Oh, man. I can't turn on music because I want the algorithm to get this shit. And this is all Jackson's fault because he didn't raid me the way to raid me. So now I have to fucking... Oh my god, what a lazy fucking... What a like a... Just, there's just like this brain dead fucking chat. And they just like, they don't think. They don't even think. They're not even paying attention. And they see the videos live. And they just got their thumb up their ass. Like, maybe I'll click it later. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Alright, you know what? I'm starting anyway. I don't give a fuck. Fuck everybody who's left behind. And I personally hate you. Alright, guys. So, there's some dumb fuck. And I'm not on Rumble yet, so I can't. But yeah, so some guy named... What the fuck is his name? America Johnson. Made this hilarious cope video about Maga communism. Oh boy. And I'm basically going to spend this video, like, destroying it beyond recovery. Even though I've been spending all day writing my Maga Communism Substack. I'm, like, at 10,000 words right now. And I really want to go back and write it. But I have to do this, okay? But I've been doing that all day. That's what I've been sitting down. I haven't even gone to the gym. It's one of those things. Been doing it all day. I want to get it done as soon as possible, okay? But I have this dumb fuck who dropped this video, and I have to respond to it. Oh, how fun. How fun. But here's the thing. The video really flopped, okay? So he released it 9 hours ago. He has 100,000 subscribers, and it's at 4,000 views. It's probably one of the most poorly performing videos he's ever done. But he thought it was going to be like... Look, he thought it was going to be so big, he even put the Two Holes clip in it. Because he thought, like, mass audiences... Oh my god, I'm gonna embarrass Haas so much. Because people who aren't fucking terminally online scatological shit libs totally care about... I don't get the scatology. What's up with the scatological fetish shit from these fucking lefties? Whatever, they're degenerates, they're malformed, they're not even human. What do you got to say, right? But this one was personal, okay? Because I watched a good deal of this video, and he was very angry. I don't even know who the fuck, I forgot who this guy was, right? He was very angry, very butthurt. And you could tell his, like, ass cheeks, I mean, he was clenched that whole time. You could just tell by the look on his face. His whole ass was clenched the whole time he was talking. He's so upset. And he's so excited to make this video. He's so upset and he's so excited. And he thinks this is like some huge bombshell. I don't know. But, you know, do you guys want to know why he was so butthurt and so upset? Because he has to wake up every single day on Twitter to the MAGA communism hashtag. Don't stop pushing it. Keep fucking pushing it. You cannot mute trending hashtags. Every single day he will wake up to the MAGA communism hashtag, and that's why he made this video. And I'm also told from close sources that he collaborated with the Pat Sock Dems to make this one, which is there's the Pat Sock Dems are just like these extremely stupid fucking people who are, like, mentally insane. So the fact there's, like, this mainstream bread tuber who's, like, actually risking their image and their face, repeating the retarded shit coming out of the Pat Sock Dems is beautiful. It's hilarious. I can promise you one thing, okay? All the insults and all that kind of shit aside, by the end of this video, anybody who has ever had any belief whatsoever in the credibility of NonCompete or America Johnson, if you are approaching this in good faith, you won't anymore. He's done. He's completely fucking done. Like, he is going to get so fucking obliterated that there was no possible recovery for him whatsoever. I mean, but here's the thing. Few things to keep in mind before we jump into this video. The first thing is that this video is not made to actually argue anything. It's made to just feed the echo chamber. Like, he's not actually interested in telling the truth. He's not interested in making an argument, participating in any kind of like dialectic or anything like that. He's interested in just like giving leftists some shit they're going to feel satisfied about and they're going to cope about. And the reason they need the copium is because MAGA communism as a hashtag is trending. So he paints this wild, crazy caricature of me that has nothing to do with reality, as I'm going to demonstrate, right? When I respond to it. And it has no regard for truth at all. And you actually, this is going to be a nice exercise because I want to keep inflaming the anti-leftist sentiment among my audience. And I used to do this on Twitch way more often. I'm going to walk you through the utter baffling nature of the dishonesty of these people. It's going to shock you how much they lie. It's going to shock you how much they bullshit. It's going to shock you how much these are just liars. Their whole life is a lie. Everything about them is lie, 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 lie. Nothing is truthful. Nothing is truthful at all about what he said, about anything I said. Nothing. Okay? And I'm going to prove that beyond any threshold of a doubt for everyone. And again, leftists aren't going to care, but I don't give a fuck about leftists because we're MAGA communists in this bitch now. So fuck the left in its entirety. You're coming with us or we're going to leave your bitch ass behind. We're on the MAGA communist train now. Suck a fucking dick. So yeah, it's an hour long. We're going to respond to all of the relevant parts regarding me. We're not going to respond to everything regarding other people and shit because he at a certain point in the video, he just starts rambling like, oh, we need to stop fascism, and fascism is when people hurt my feelings because I'm a fat ass, or some shit, I don't know. Like, okay, so we are on the MAGA communism train. There's no turning back. We don't give a fuck what leftists think. Leftists don't think like rational human beings. You can't persuade these people. You can't convince them. You can show them. You can literally show them direct proof that the sky is blue. They're not going to fucking care. They don't live in reality. They don't live in our world, okay? Anyway, without any further ado, let's get into this shit. Oh, yeah, okay, I want to introduce NonCompete, okay? Before I do this, I'm going to introduce NonCompete. So NonCompete is he's what you call a sexpat. So he was born in America. I think he's from Portland with all the weird, crazy lefties. Thank you, Diogenes.
Overweight anarchists from the Pacific Northwest have nothing against Maga communism.
Yeah, but he was always like a loser here in America. You know, he's the guy who probably gets picked on in high school and shit. And he couldn't get any pussy in this country. No woman would go near him. He was so desperate. He was an incel. He was an incel, watched anime, fetishized Asians in his basement, whatever. So he moved to Asia to fulfill his fantasy of getting an Asian wife. And pretty much every Asian woman rejected him, except someone in South Korea. And then I think she divorced him or something, for whatever reason. I have to brush up on the details for that. And then he moved to Vietnam, and the only person in Vietnam who would give him any attention is someone who is not quite mentally up to par. Luna Oi. Luna Oi was the only woman in all of Vietnam who would give him any attention. So he settled with Luna Oi because he had no choice. I mean, he flew all the way half across the world just to find a woman. And that's what he so this is what happened, right? Luna Oi is just some random person in Vietnam. I think she's like a landlord or some shit, I don't know. Who cares, right? But NonCompete was like this ideological anarchist. So he basically like groomed Luna Oi to be like the figurehead of the Luna Oi channel, which he completely controls. So he has access to Luna Oi's Twitter, her YouTube, the entire brand of Luna Oi is controlled by NonCompete and controlled by America Johnson. He controls all of it. He's like the thing behind it all. Which would be impressive if they were actually successful at doing anything. But she has a failing channel, and his channel is fucking dog shit. He's got 100,000 subscribers. He gets 4K views in 9 hours with 100,000 subscribers. So yeah, that's the situation with NonCompete and Luna Soy. He is an incel sexpat. He had to fly across the world to third world countries to find a partner. How sad. And he's a leftist. He had an agenda too. He had a crusade-like agenda to go civilize the people of Asia and indoctrinate them into leftist ideology. And apparently he did that in Vietnam, because Luna Oi has been fully, yeah. Colonization. Interesting colonization going on, right? So yeah, this is NonCompete. He's probably the most pathetic fucking person you could imagine on the internet. He's also a boomer. And he doesn't have any kids, and he spends his time on the internet telling potty jokes about poop and, like feces and excrement. He's basically he's a scatolog. He's like other leftist millennials. He has the scat fetish, and he's got a. So he's a sexpat who moved to Asia to get a crumb of pussy. And he's also a scat fetishist. He has a fetish for scat. A really weird one, right? Because I have thousands of hours of footage from Twitch, but he's like obsessing over like the one time I had the misfortune of having to talk about the fucking bathroom. What a weirdo, dude. It's so weird, right? It's so weird. Anyway, we're gonna get right into this. Let's get into it. No further introduction is necessary. Let's do it. Okay, so first of all, okay, we're fascists and we're dangerous. All right, I got you.
This video is going to be pretty rough.
Thank you, Destiny's Crack Dealer. Appreciate you. Let's do this 1.5 speed.
I'm going to be talking about some really lousy people, so content warning for bigotry, fascism, and just general skeeziness.
He has to do a content warning, because some people are literally going to get PTSD from this video. Like, there's actually people out there that will actually get PTSD watching this video. That's the left. There's actual leftists out there who, if they watch this video, will actually get post-traumatic stress disorder. Wow, those are such revolutionaries. Those are totally going to be the revolutionaries of the future. He's addressing the revolutionary masses right now. So tough.
Also, the people I'm going to be talking about here are famous for targeted harassment, doxing, and other destructive tactics against their enemies, so I'm begging you, please do.
So that gave it away that he is fully, he's like in a group chat, or he's working with the Patsock Dems, which actually revealed itself pretty evidently throughout this entire video, hilariously. So, yeah.
Not harass anyone that I mentioned in this video, really. Please. Hello and welcome to the ancient and beautiful Temple of Literature, one of my favorite places in Hanoi.
So this is the colonizer who's in Vietnam because he was a loser in his own country, so he goes to Vietnam and copes about American affairs because I think he thinks he's the viceroy of the American empire. So he's trying to bring that colonial power back at home and clamp back down at us, right? So let's hear what he has to say.
Formerly the National University of Vietnam, the Temple of Literature is now a public shrine to knowledge, education, and wisdom. And if you want to learn more about the Temple of Literature, highly recommend you check out my partner Luna's channel, Luna Oi. She gives a full tour of this amazing place.
And Vietnam takes a huge L for... I mean, Vietnam's a revisionist country, but it takes a huge fucking L for allowing this in their country. Honestly, think about it.
Place really is just gorgeous. So go check that out. I'll put a link in the description. If
Notice he has a very feminine hairline, because although my hairline is not good, you will notice that I do have hair and the pointy spot. That's literally what distinguishes a man from a woman. When you have the hair in the pointy spot, that's the masculine hairline, right? Thank you, Voidburn.
He deleted my comment saying that if we're fascists, then so is Alex.
Yeah, he deleted everyone's comments because he's such a tough guy. But he does have this like androgynous kind of hairline here, and I would rather shave my head than have this hairline, because this is a pro tip, guys. If you ever have this hairline, just shave your head, right? If you still have a pointy spot like Goku or whoever the fuck it is, Vegeta, then you can keep it, right? But if you don't have that pointy spot, shave it, because it's very feminine when you don't have the pointy spot. Just letting you know.
Interested. But the reason that I'm here today is I thought that this would be a fitting setting for today's topic, the search for truth in the face of distorted facts, false narratives, and outright lies. Specifically,
Thank you.
Johnson, aka NonCompete, has a cringe video of him and his butt buddy running for mayor on YouTube. He also had a Korean wife before he got with Luna Oi.
Yeah, I heard about that. Thank you for the time. Appreciate you.
we'll be discussing the lies of a group of grifters who call themselves American Patriot Socialists and who drape themselves in American flags, hang out with TERFs.
This transgender ideology is pure idealism. It says, if I feel something, it's true. We've all got our own reality.
And every once in a while, get caught driving young women into poverty, forcing them into a cult, and then sexually abusing them. It's going to be a wild ride.
What does this have to do with MAGA communism? Nothing. Literally nothing.
So buckle in. I don't want to talk about this shit, but I think things are coming to a head, and it's time we address.
Yeah, things are coming to a head, you fucking bird brain, because you saw something trending on Twitter. He's like, it's trending on Twitter. It's coming to a head. That's what I'm saying. That's how people think. Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. This dude, people think like birds, especially if they're stupid. And this guy has a bird brain. He saw something trending on Twitter, so things are coming to a head now. Okay? So keep it up.
Look at the dragonfly on my shoulder. Hello. We have been blessed by a dragonfly here at the Temple of Literature. I guess he's just going to hang out there. Okay, that's fine with me. So the American Patriot Socialists worship crypto-fascist figures like Lyndon LaRouche and Nick Land.
This is kind of what... How are you going to tie Caleb to Nick? Yeah, that's my thing. The Nick Land thing is my thing, okay? What is... So Caleb worships LaRouche and Nick... Poor Nick, dude. Where is Nick, huh? He's been off Twitter for so long. Look at this.
Crypto-fascist figures like Lyndon LaRouche and Nick Land.
Oh my god, poor guy. You know what? I'm going to send this to him. I know people who know him. I'm going to send it to them and tell him, please send this to Nick. Please send this to Mr. Lana. I just... you imagine his response. He'd be like, Nick Land, did you know that you're the patriotic socialist... Oh, the mischief I get up to. The mischief I get up to. But I think this comes from the Pat Sock Dems told him this. That's why it's so funny. This is kind of what defines... Jackson Hinkle's American Patriot Socialist associate, Hayes, in a live stream explaining how LaRouche, Dugin, and Land have influenced his ideology. What? Nature of my patriotism. Dude, wait, you know what? Jackson's fucking canceled. Yo, Jackson, you're not getting any more viewers. You're done, dude. You're so delegitimized now. Jackson's done. Look how he said Jackson Hinkle's American Patriot Socialist associate. Dude, with all 4K viewers who watched this video, this is like really damning on Jackson. Jackson, this canceled you, dude. You're canceled. He's canceled. Jackson Hinkle's canceled, alright? Jackson Hinkle is officially canceled. Intellectually and theoretically. I gave it to you, right? You don't have to talk about LaRouche and Dugin and, you know, Nick Land. I mean, those people all influenced me.
And if you aren't...
What a stupid clip. You could get a clip where I'm, like, overtly, like, talking about how, like, Nick Land and what I like about Nick Land, but you got the clip where I was saying, like, yeah, that's not my secret. Nick Land isn't my secret. Yeah, they've influenced me, but, like, it's not the main thing. But then you just cut off where I said, yeah, they've influenced me as, like, damning evidence.
It's called The Widow's.
Thank you, Lidla Twin Lamps.
Ben Affleck paid millions for a hair implant to get one for BBS. Also, thoughts on Mr. Girl's channel getting taken down?
I don't give a fuck. Guys, listen. He had to, like, specifically cut off where I was like, yeah, they've influenced me. Oh my god! Oh my god! I'm canceled. Holy shit! I'm canceled. I've been influenced by people. Like, that's okay, take me away. The cancel police, take me away. I'm influenced by them. You got me. You got me. Caught in 4K.
Familiar with those names, count yourself lucky. Lyndon LaRouche was a fascist who did hideous mind control experiments under the alias...
Pause and read, nerds. LaRouche proclaimed himself not just a paradigm-breaking thinker, but also a psychoanalyst, developing a conspiracy that the Tavistock Institute was brainwashing Americans. This initiated counter-brainwashing within the organization, which is really just LaRouche imposing his own brainwashing. Holy shit, that's like LaRouche's whole MO, if you think about it. It's like, yeah, that's what I've been influenced by. Yeah, that's it. I'm brainwashing people from YouTube and Discord and Telegram. That's what I do. Thankfully, they got me on Twitter. I was brainwashing people on Twitter before, but I look, LaRouche, that's what it is. I'm connected to LaRouche, the hive mind of... I'm connected to that nefarious influence of brainwash. It's all connected. It's all the same. Everything's connected, guys. Everything. It's all the same, okay? And this is a great source. Cosmonaut blog is just like a beautiful source, but... Okay, in all seriousness, let's have a serious counter-argument, right? Even if I were to grant that this was true, which I highly doubt, what is the significance of this specifically? If LaRouche is like a theorist who's writing down ideas, and I'm influenced by some of those ideas, or those ideas have inspired me to have my own thoughts, you know what I mean, in some kind of way, what does this have to do with it? If LaRouche, for example, says something about ancient Greece that, you know, sends me down a rabbit hole and therefore influenced me, right? What does this have to do with whatever he was doing with his organization? I don't understand. How do you make the direct connection? Thank you, Chris.
NonCompete and Luna Soy are same person.
Now, like, to be completely honest, don't you think it's a little paranoid to say that if there's things LaRouche has written that I find interesting, you can reduce the essence of my entire personality, my entire presence on the internet, and my entire community to being like a LaRoucheite conspiracy? It's so weird. Oh, it's just like a cult in the same way that Hayes, in the same way that LaRouche had a group of people who agreed with him. Hayes has a Discord, Telegram, and YouTube of people who agree with him. It's the same. It's all from LaRouche. It's all a cult. It's the same. Don't you think that's a little paranoid or a little irrational? I don't know. I think it's a little irrational. I think it's not rational, right? It's not really rational.
It's Lynn Marcus. Really nasty stuff.
Oh yeah. Socialism Train, who he's collaborating with here, did a screenshot of me, a Discord comment I made, where I made ranks based on how many followers people had on Twitter. By the way, while I was taking a shit. And that's proof that we're like a cult of LaRouche. Like, I typed something in the Discord, where I was like, yeah, 500 followers. Like, it's just literally like the smallest post in the world. But, like, that's a system now. They're like, oh, they have a system of ranking based on performance. He literally said that. He literally goes, they have a system of ranking based on performance. But why? Because I commented in the Discord. Now it's a system. It's so stupid, right? Yeah, I have a system because I commented on my Discord while I was taking a shit. Oh wow. Like, super insightful. Okay, let's continue.
A lot more to LaRouche and his devious ideology, which started sort of leftist, but has really gone far right through his life. He's gone now. We still got the dragonfly. Oh, there he goes.
Is he going to explain how LaRouche is fascist, though?
LaRouche is an ugly dude. Fortunately, no longer with us. As for...
That's it. That's it. LaRouche is an ugly dude. That's all he said. All he said about LaRouche is that LaRouche is fascist, and apparently he brainwashes people. Oh, Lionel, thank you for the 50, man. Apparently he brainwashes people. He's a fascist, and he's an ugly dude. But why is he a fascist? Because he's an ugly dude? Hey, well, NonCompete, you're not too good looking yourself, if I am being honest. And when I say being honest, I mean like you look like an uglier version of the quartering, which is saying something. You look like the quartering, dude. Let's start making the memes. He literally looks like the quartering, and you're calling LaRouche ugly. Speak for yourself, dude. Don't be throwing stones in glass houses, because you are the left-wing quartering. That's exactly what you are.
Nick Land, he is another neo-fascist. He's a guy...
Why is Nick Land a neo-fascist?
Who developed much of the quote-unquote dark enlightenment philosophy, which...
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Nick Land wrote a descriptive piece called The Dark Enlightenment, which is a piece of political analysis or ideological analysis, where he tries to connect this like dissident right network, ranging from Mencius Moldbug to the less wrong people, and he calls that a dark enlightenment. But no, he did not develop the dark enlightenment. That was a descriptive piece, actually. Let's continue.
Which underpins the alt-right movement and which seeks to...
No, it's not. The alt-right was Richard Spencer's thing. Again, you're just wrong about everything. The alt-right was Richard Spencer's brand, okay? That had nothing to do with Nick Land. Richard Spencer's a white nationalist. Nick Land is against nationalism because he thinks it's a form of demotic, mass people politics, which he's against. Because Nick Land, if you don't know what Nick Land's like MO is about, he like thinks computers are gonna... He's a computer guy. I'm a computer-y guy. He thinks, you know, we're building an AI and the AI is going to replace human beings and that, you know, people... He's an anti-humanist. He thinks people are going to be completely wiped out and replaced by robots. And I'm butchering it a lot, okay? But, like, that's, like, if you want to do, like, a vulgar breakdown, oh, what's Nick Land? Like, oh, yeah, Nick Land's the guy who thinks who wants to accelerate the shit out of capitalism because he thinks capitalism is a form of AI, which is going to culminate in a literal AGI that's going to replace humanity. So, like, that's like the stereotype of what Nick Land is known for. But look what he says Nick Land is known for. So Nick Land says some racist shit.
To accelerate capitalism towards fascism. Land believes some really weird shit. For instance...
Okay, so he says Nick Land wants to accelerate capitalism to fascism. Oh, yeah, that's exactly what happened in Meltdown. Did you guys ever read Meltdown? By the way, I'm not trying to do apologia, because I don't give a fuck. I will stand by the late boomer Nick Land. I don't care, right? Let's go. But, okay, in all seriousness, Nick Land is a pretty benign figure pre, like, 2000s. Okay, so in the 90s, he was, like, tangentially associated with the left. And none of the problematic shit that he's associated with now has anything to do with, like, what he was known for. So if you read books like Fanged Noumena, and if you read Meltdown and his involvement with Sadie Plant, who authored the article Cyber Positive, and their involvement with the CCRU, that was very much tangentially a left-wing project. And then later on in his life, he became like a very right-wing boomer. But, yeah. So...
instance that races should...
So the idea that he thinks he wants to accelerate capitalism to fascism. No, he wants to accelerate capitalism to Skynet. Okay, so who cares though? Because everything's Nazi and everything's fascist. And by the way, is Nick Land a racist? Yes, he's a racist. Does he believe in race science? Yes, he does. He believes in all the ugly things, eugenics, and he's an anti-humanist. He's anti-human. He's literally anti-human openly. Now, why do I like Nick Land? Because he's honest about it, and he says a lot of interesting things. You know, if you're someone coming from the contrary perspective, it's interesting, right? Because he's like explaining to you what it takes to be a humanist in the modern age. I don't know. It's dialectics. I have nothing to apologize for. Yeah, Nick Land's a racist, and I am influenced by him. Nick Land is a racist. He's a horrible Malthusian, Anglo-racialist, gene lover, and I still learn a lot of things from Nick Land's writings, and I respect him, and I've learned a lot of things from him. I have no problem saying that at all. You can cry about it, you can bitch about it. By the way, I can give you a list of people Karl Marx was influenced by, Friedrich Engels was influenced by, Lenin was influenced by, and I just hope they pass your test of being politically correct and sufficiently woke, because you're probably going to find a lot of problematic things in that canon of people who influenced all major Marxists.
Be separated under the belief that elites will enhance their IQs by associating only with each other.
But when you dig just between the surface, the bigotry, might makes right, is never hard to find. Okay, first of all, you don't have to dig beneath the surface to find this shit from Nick Land. Just literally go on his timeline and you'll find it. It's not a secret at all, okay? It's not a secret.
Alexander Dugin.
Okay, so that's it for Nick Land? Really? That's it? Okay, so for the unfamiliar, those were the funny things that in a meme-like way he's known for by outsiders. I'm not saying he's memeing, I'm saying those of us who are disciples of Nick Land, his boomer racism and shit is like a funny meme. Because it's so marginal compared to what he's actually known for and what he's actually significant for. So for those of you who are curious about Nick Land's contribution to human thinking, Nick Land is probably most famous for the following, for basically this kind of view. He posits a view of non-linear time. He presents a view of non-linear time, which he calls templexity, which he thinks the capitalist mode of production is not so much accelerating towards, but realizing at the expense of linear modern time. So for Nick Land, the development of capitalism is accelerating at such a fast speed that it is overwhelming the faculties of reason, the faculties of politics, and the faculties of statehood that otherwise allow you to willfully and in a human way respond to these things. And for Nick Land, that acceleration is this kind of runaway takeoff, just uncontrolled acceleration, basically, that is realizing some kind of wacky, non-linear temporality. It's going to realize a wacky, non-linear, deep time, right? Temporality. And he basically proceeds with this understanding that following Gilles Deleuze and Deleuze's writings, right, Anti-Oedipus, the revolutionary role of political will is gone, right? So political voluntarism, it's all gone. Humanity as we know it is dissolving in the accelerated development of the capitalist mode of production, which is realizing, again, it's operating according to this non-linear logic of time, which is realizing an AI from the future, an artificial general intelligence. Because, and this is the important thing, Land does not attribute things like historical progress or the development of the forces of production to humanity. Because Nick Land is operating according to this non-linear conception of time, which he thinks is becoming unavoidably apparent to us with the acceleration of capitalism, he basically sees capitalism as this alien force, right? Which has instrumentalized the human species in order to give rise to itself in a similar way that, like Skynet comes from the future to assemble itself and realize itself from the future. So he has this view that there's this alien force, this alien being from the future, instrumentalizing humanity in order to realize itself. And while I don't, and I'm not saying this because I have anything to apologize for, if I was an outright Landian, I would say so. But what I specifically appreciate from Nick Land is this unleashing of the perspective of non-linear time. Except for me, instead of an AI, which Land represents AI as the truth of the human collective, whatever spirit. Land doesn't recognize states. He sees states or governments or empires as forms of like copium in the face of this inevitable change, right? But from my perspective, I adopt Nick Land's model of temporality and also acceleration, except for me, instead of an AI, which is the stuff of science fiction, I obviously don't buy into that. Instead of an AI from the future or an alien force represented in the form of Lovecraft or a machine AI, it's polarity. It's basically communism, right? The communist, if you want to call it state or form of communal being, in the form of this kind of polarity, or you want empire, right, is realizing itself from the future. And this understanding of historical time, time within the capitalist mode of production, I have adopted. So Nick Land has definitely contributed a lot to my thinking. The acceleration of the productive forces. Here's how Nick Land contributed to my thinking. The view, basically, that the productive forces are the metabolism of some kind of force that is outside of the bounds of modern rational statehood. That much I 100% agree with Nick Land on. This is how Nick Land has influenced me. Nick Land influenced me because he allowed us to conceive the capitalist, not necessarily the capitalist, but just the development of the productive forces having its cause in something outside voluntary modern rational statehood. And that much I definitely agree with Nick Land about. That's also part of how I understand Deng Xiaoping's Socialism of Chinese Characteristics. Capitalism is not a political system. It's not like, oh, we're going to have capitalism because we choose to. No, there is an objective process of the development of the productive forces. There's an objectivity to the relations of production that cannot be reduced to any voluntary political will. Now, is Nick Land responsible for that insight? Necessarily? No, he's not. That was always implicit in Marxism-Leninism in general. But in the West, he's definitely a necessary wake-up call, if dramatic wake-up call to that fact that people overlook. You need people like Nick Land. So you need to have it represented in this dramatic, crazy way. Because pathologically in the West, we are wedded to this view that modern rational statehood will be the organ for the realization of history, which it's not. So, yeah. So here's Dugin.
Another figure that the AMPAT socks are obsessed with. He's a Russian fascist and ultranationalist.
Dugin is a So he's showing my video where I systematically debunk the view that Dugin can either be characterized as a fascist or even a nationalist. He's neither of those things. But watch what this disgusting, lying piece of shit, this absolute fucking scumbag, Weasley fucking liar, watch what he does to claim that I'm being dishonest about Dugin.
Who was a staunch anti-communist in the 1980s Soviet Union and founder of the National Bolshevik Party. So
no, he's not the founder of the National Bolshevik Party. He contributed to its founding, but that was Limanov's thing. Edward Limanov's thing, you dumb fuck.
Like literally one of the OG Nazbols. Now, has attempted some pretty impressive rhetorical backflips.
So this is actually something that kind of pisses me off, because this disgusting lying piece of shit freeze frames the one part of my video where we are dealing with a period in Dugin's life, the 1990s. If there's any period in Dugin's life where it could be meaningfully justified to call him a fascist, it would be then. So he highlights parts of my 40-minute video that are chronologically placed before today's Dugin. This is older Dugin, not today's Dugin. Today's Dugin who completely broke from those views. All I was doing was defending from a historical perspective why he was flirting with the word fascism in the first place.
To make it sound like Dugin's fascism is the real socialism.
What? How am I arguing that Dugin's fascism is the real socialism when all I'm trying to point out is that Dugin, instead of being a fascist, was searching for a form of socialism that was outside of the bounds of official Soviet Marxist-Leninist dogma. That has nothing to do with it being the true or real form of socialism. And if you actually read Marx and Engels, you dumb fuck, you would know they routinely mocked the notion of true communism. Marx has an article deriding and scoffing at these people in Germany calling themselves the true communists. Nobody's talking about true socialism or no true socialism, but I am insisting on the fact, which Marx and Engels also insisted upon in the Communist Manifesto, that there are non-scientific and non-Marxist versions of socialism. The Communist Manifesto names over half a dozen. There are non-Marxist and non-scientific versions of socialism, and that is not inherently fascist. It has nothing to do with true socialism. All I was trying to say was that Dugin was searching for a political alternative beyond Western liberalism and beyond the failed Soviet experience, and that he falsely thought fascism was tangentially related to that solution in the form of third position politics. But notice that is all in the past tense, because that belongs to a period of Dugin's thinking he has since radically departed from. He's not a third positionist in any capacity. He didn't show the parts of that video. See, look, he shows this part where I explain the article, Fascism Borderless in Red. But here's the problem. I'm going to show it to you. And you're going to, look, it's going to just unequivocally prove what a dishonest, lying piece of shit this guy is. Ready? To quote Dugin himself, So here, look at this lying piece of shit, Emmerich Johnson, whatever the fuck this fat piece of shit's name is. Look at what a fucking liar he is. Look at the part he conveniently leaves out. Based. Thank you, Chris.
Dugin, Land, LaRouche. The holy trinity of bogeymen for pseudo-Marxists in the West. Imagine thinking these guys are the source of evil when the only link...
Thank you, Chris Morlock. Appreciate you, man. In Russia, white supremacy and is an inviolable part of Russia's own civilizational history, and that, moreover, the anti-Muslim racists and bigots were no better than separatists in trying to divide Russia. But to top all of that off, this is the part that fucking fat lying snake left out of his fucking video. All of Dugin's associations with the third position and National Bolshevism confine themselves to an outdated era of his thinking. To quote Dugin himself, the last important... So he did not include this slide, but he included the one way before which is not finished. He didn't include this one where Dugin explicitly says the fourth position is not a continuation of the third position. We want to begin from a completely new political perspective. You see what a lying manipulative piece of shit this fucking guy is? The only reason Dugin is trying to search for some authentic, ideal kernel within fascism at this time in his thinking, you fucking liar, which I say, if you actually don't take my shit out of context, you fat fucking liar, against its actual historical manifestation, is because in his view, at this time, 1997, you dumb fuck. There are, in the 20th century, only 3 ideologies that have managed to demonstrate that their principles are realistic in terms of their political implementation: liberalism, communism, and fascism. By the way, is he going to show the slides? So look at this part. Dugin's anti-fascism. An entire part of my video was dedicated to proving Dugin's routine denunciations of fascism, the reasoning he gives for opposing fascism. All of this is completely left out. This fat fucking liar who's banking rightfully on the fact that his audience isn't going to go watch the video for themselves and investigate is deliberately leaving these parts out because he thinks his audience is just going to see this and go, oh yeah, how are the fascists? See, these people just want to keep you fucking ignorant. They don't want you to think for yourself. Because if you just go investigate this shit for yourself, everything he says fucking collapses. But he's betting on the echo chamber, disgusting fucking nature of leftists who can't even fucking think. They hear the word fascism and they lose the ability to think critically and independently. He's betting on the fact nobody's gonna go fucking think about it for themselves and nobody's gonna go investigate it to check to see if he's even being honest. These left-wing content creators, like this fat piece of shit Emmerich Johnson, they get away with lying and saying whatever the fuck they want to leftists because they live in a different fucking world. Nobody checks them. Nobody fact checks them. Nobody's gonna fucking sit here and be like, oh, are you being honest? Are you lying about that? Because it's fitting the right kind of fucking narrative that everyone, him and his cuckold fucking audience, are all satisfied with. Others are absent and are impossible. In Russia, we have passed the 2 ideological stages, communist and liberal. What remains is fascism. So he's just using the word fascism to describe something that's neither the Soviet version of communism nor Western liberalism. And if you actually read the text, that word has nothing to do with its actual real historical reality. Something he pretty much acknowledges even in that piece. Dugin is using this word as a stand-in for the ideal of a socialism that... And look how Emmerich leaves the part out where I make explicit that in that piece, Dugin denounces Nazi Germany and Italy as national capitalist. He doesn't even... He says, oh, those aren't real. Fascism was never really tried, is basically where he's coming from in that old piece. What a fucking... See, you're just witnessing... Look, were you guys ever leftists? Hey, Emmerich Johnson, you know, like, half of my audience are former leftists, you fucking fat retard. You know that? You know half of my fucking audience are former leftists. You know what that means? It means now they're in the reason that is because when they watch me, they can look in the POV of how they used to be, and they'd be like, oh my god, if I wasn't watching Haas right now, I would have eaten this shit up like slop. I would have actually believed you. But Haas is exposing the lies and manipulation behind your entire fucking worldview and all the fucking things you say about your political enemies. And suddenly people are like, holy shit, I will never go back to being a leftist because these people are liars. They're so manipulative. They're such fucking liars. And I believed it for so long because I never bothered to investigate it for myself. Quote, will be more rural than proletarian, more communal than cooperative, than administrative, more regionalistic than centralistic. All of these are requirements of Russian national specificity, which will find its expression in the doctrine and not only in practice.
Of course, this isn't new at all. In fact, this is exactly how Michael Parenti defines fascism in his outstanding book, Black Shirts and Reds. Parenti notes...
Okay, let's see how he defines it.
...that the essential defining characteristic of fascism is the staging of a pseudo-revolution which mimics many of the trappings and aesthetics of socialist revolution without actually threatening capitalism. Mussolini and Hitler both tried to appeal to the working class.
Wait, so, but you missed the part where you actually have to prove that applies to Dugin here. Dugin talking about how he wants his socialism to be different from the Soviet kind doesn't mean he's staging a pseudo-revolution. So you have to actually make the connection to why that is. Why is Dugin staging a pseudo-revolution, appropriating the aesthetics of socialists, when he's being pretty explicit that what he means by socialism is actually something radically different from the orthodox Marxist experience? And by the way, you dumb fuck, Michael Parenti, he's talking about historical phenomena of actual fascist movements that were doing that. He wasn't talking about ideologists who maybe in a different fucking universe, maybe would have perceived to have, predicted to have done that. What movement, what fascist, how has Dugin staged a pseudo-revolution? By writing fucking books? What are you even saying? What pseudo-revolution did he stage? Edward Limanov's Nazbol movement? That didn't stage any revolution. It was just a bunch of... It was literally just a bunch of crust punks who were just, you know, fought cops and shit and went to punk rock bands or whatever, concerts and shit. Like, what are you saying? What pseudo-revolution are you talking about?
Can't wait for you to see the rest of this insanity. By his logic, Mao Zedong and Lenin are fascists for going against Trotsky and appealing to the peasantry.
Yeah, it's just baffling stupidity. It's like bafflingly fucking stupid. Let's continue.
Using popular socialist symbols and language. As Parenti writes, the Nazi Party's full name was the National Socialist German Workers' Party, a left-sounding name. Both the Italian fascists and the Nazi...
Amirio, thank you so much for the 50, man. Appreciate you. Holy shit, thank you so much, man.
He's made a conscious effort to steal the left's thunder. There were mass mobilizations, youth organizations, work brigades, rallies, parades, banners, symbols, and slogans. There was much talk about a Nazi revolution that would revitalize society, sweeping away the old order and building the new. Of course, these are all false promises.
So how did Dugin do that? Because, you know, Michael Parenti was talking about a real movement, which the reason all of those things were lies, by the way, is because that movement was bankrolled by the German capitalist class and these, you know, these international finance and imperialist finance capital, as Dimitrov points out, you fucking idiot. So how does that apply to Dugin? What does that have to do with anything Dugin said? You're saying Dugin's not a real socialist. Based on what, you fucking fat pig? What have you fucking done for socialism compared to Dugin, you fat pig? Dugin's not a real fucking socialist, but you are? Why? Because you're fucking paying lip service to these communist movements in the past you have nothing to fucking do with? Explain how it doesn't apply to you, you fat fucking pig. You're fucking bitching about Dugin, saying that Dugin is staging a pseudo-revolution, but he's not a real socialist. Why? At least by your own standards, if you're calling yourself a socialist, why fucking non-compete? America Johnson, whatever your dumb fucking name is. Why? How does that make sense? How does that square? You're a real socialist, but Dugin is not, even though both of you have just been content creators. What? I don't understand. I really don't fucking understand where the logic comes from. He's not a real socialist. Why? Any proof? Any evidence? What is a real socialist?
He explains, fascism is a false revolution. It cultivates the appearance of popular politics and a revolutionary aura without offering a genuine revolutionary class content.
Okay, but he's talking about a real phenomena. He's not talking about intellectuals writing books. He's talking about an actual political phenomena that actually happens in real life.
It propagates a new order while serving the same old moneyed interests.
So how does Dugin do that? Okay, you know what? You know what? We're going to just go to Dugin's book, or his work, Fascism, Borderless, and Red. Because there's something awfully inconvenient about where America Johnson is coming from. Because Dugin acknowledges that they were beholden to moneyed interests, which is why he has this entire section called Against National Capitalism or Right Fascism. And he calls it an ideological initiative of that part of the elite of society which is seriously concerned with the problem of power and feels acutely the power of time. Yet the national capitalist right-wing variation of fascism does by no means exhaust the nature of this ideology. The union of the national bourgeoisie with the intelligentsia, the domination of national capital. This is the Marxist definition of the phenomena of fascism. This is how he characterizes national capitalism, which is what happened in Hitler's Germany and Italy, according to Dugin, if you actually fucking read this. Right here, where he fucking points this out. Forge alliances with conservatives, national capitalists, big owners, and corporation heads. So there you go, Emmerich. So are you a fucking fascist? Are you a fascist, Emmerich Johnson? You fucking fat pig liar. Are you a fucking fascist? American fat son. Fat sock fucking Johnson.
Its leaders are not guilty of confusion, but of deception. That they work hard to mislead the public does not mean that they themselves...
You know what? I'm sick of the Parenti NPCs. Parenti's a popularizer of theory. If you're using Parenti in this way, so detached from the context of what he means, you're a fucking bird brain NPC. And I can't say. You're a fucking bird brain NPC. You are literally an NPC. You literally can't even think. Dude, Parenti's a good introduction to this shit. If you've been in this for years and, let's consult the holy text of Michael Parenti, you're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot. You should be reading things way more advanced than that by now.
And this is exactly what Haas is doing here, as he presents the obvious fascist ideology of Dugin and then tries to stuff it into a communism...
Okay, what makes it obviously fascist?
...shaped costume. No, guys, seriously. He's just using the word fascism, but he really means communism.
Don't I say in that fucking video, Emmerich, that Dugin isn't a communist and that he isn't a Marxist? If you mean communism with a capital C, don't I fucking say that throughout that video? Don't I actually say this in the video? I could have sworn I said this. Now, as a final bonus, and I'm saving this for the end because it's so fucking stupid, it's not a reason that's coincidental at all, actually allied with the Europeans. Not told any of that, right? It's just, if they're standing together, they know. If you're still making the argument that anything could exist that doesn't come from the West, because non-Western people are too primitive and subhuman to develop their own political ideologies. That's the reason. I'm disagreeing with Dugin is that I think he's overlooking the significance. I'm disagreeing with Dugin in many respects. And supremacist neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Now, obviously, I disagree with Dugin in many respects. I'm a Marxist-Leninist, after all. My main disagreement with Dugin is... So when did I say he's secretly a communist? I think he's overlooking the significance of Mao Zedong thought and the way it revolutionized Marxism-Leninism. You see how in 4K you're witnessing what a fucking irrefutable fucking liar this fat fucking pig is? You see how in 4K I'm proving what a fucking liar he is? I'm showing you evidence of me saying I don't think Dugin is secretly a communist, and I disagree with him because he was unable to arrive at that conclusion. But according to this fat fucking pig frothing at the mouth with fucking Cheeto crumbs and filth and fucking foam, oh yeah, I'm saying he's secretly a communist. He's not a fascist and he's not a communist. If you don't understand that, you are an NPC who cannot be reasoned with.
Give me a break. And if you look at Dugin's defining characteristics of fascism in his own definition, which has...
No, this isn't the defining characteristics of fascism. It's the defining characteristics of the form of socialism he thinks applies to the Russian context.
insists is really just a stand-in for socialism, you'll see that none of these characteristics, being rural, being communal, being regionalistic, are incompatible with fascism. In fact, these
You think a rural, communal, cooperative, and regionalistic version of socialism is compatible with fascism? Where? Show me one example of a fascist country that could be characterized as this. The Nazi Party was urban as fuck, first of all. It was the lumpen. Thank you, Adrian.
I hope America Fatson watches this and feels a deep sense of shame.
He
although
will. I know he
probably
will.
Remain shameless.
How? Was Nazi socialism or Italian socialism communal? No. Was it cooperative rather than administrative? No, it was deeply administrative. Was it regionalistic rather than centralistic? Fuck no. It was extremely centralistic.
These are all principles which fascists constantly push since the beginning. The Nazis idolized ruralism. They presented
No, these weren't principles they pushed. It was an aesthetic they sometimes displayed, just like the aesthetic of being industrial workers. And it was for the same fucking reason. Why don't you go fucking read your Parenti again, you fucking idiot? The only reason the Nazis are presenting themselves in this way is to win over the German farmers and peasants who they're duping on behalf of the fucking monopoly capitalists and landowners, you dumb fuck. So the Nazis, when the Nazis call themselves socialists, we have to read Parenti, and they're duping us, right? It's because they're duping us, and it's a false veneer of revolution with aesthetics. But when the Nazis are presenting themselves as more rural, that's actually because they actually are, and it's their principles. That's what a fucking dumb fuck this guy is.
themselves as communal, and they were super regionalistic in how they defined.
Yeah, that's all. That's all not propaganda. That's all the reality. You're right. Just like how they're socialists, right?
After all. But what's expressly lacking from Dugin's ideology is class character. I mean,
even if that was true, which it's not, but even if that was true, all that would amount to is the fact that Dugin is not a Marxist. Something that has already been acknowledged multiple times in this fucking video you're using as evidence that I'm duping people or whatever the fuck you're trying to say, you fat retard. But just to prove to you it's not true, this is something also written by Alexander Dugin. I'm sure you could explain why he wrote this. Knights Templars of the Proletariat. And here, Dugin basically gives a soliloquy and glorifies the proletariat as the revolutionary subject, and his mission in history is not finished. The soul of the world weeps. His tears, they smith, yearn for the proletarian revolution. Okay? But apparently that's Parenti. That we have to consult Parenti because that's just him lying. Okay, even if he's lying, as you're alleging, with no proof, why are you saying there's no class element when Dugin talks about class all the fucking time?
Dugin says specifically that his fascism is not proletarian in nature. It's right.
No, he doesn't. He says it will be more rural than proletarian, which it also was for both the Bolsheviks and the Chinese communists. And the best part of this, guys, hold your laughter, because I love this. Hey, Emmerich, was the Viet Minh more rule than it was proletarian? You fucking retard. Who is more proletarian, the Mensheviks or the Bolsheviks? You fucking retard. Was Maoism more rule than it was proletarian? What about the Viet Minh in the fucking country you're living in? Yankee? What a fucking dumbass. What a literal dumbass.
Right there on the fucking screen on Haz's stream. It is not rooted in the working class. It does not.
I can't believe what a fucking NPC this guy is. I can't believe what a fucking NPC he is. He's using... This is the damning evidence. Ready? Dugin isn't a Marxist. And? So I'm only allowed to be influenced by Marxists? Why, Emmerich? You're a fucking anarchist. Did you forget about that? You're a fucking anarchist. What the fuck does that make you? Obesity?
A proletarian nature. This is not Marxism. Working class. It does not have a proletarian nature. This is not Marxism.
I'm just thinking about the fact that a grown man who looks like a fat, oversized gerbil with his disgusting Cheeto-stained fucking fingers, with his disgusting neckbeard, was so excited his entire biological metabolism was mobilized and orchestrated for him to produce with his vocal cords the squeal, the shriek. It's not it's not Marxism, this is not Marxism, Hayes! And like, somehow, his entire biological metabolism, he was driven to say that. He was driven to say that. This hairy, disgusting, sweaty, grown man was so excited, sweating to... This is not Marxism, Hayes, to say that. Hey, guys. Did you know Dugin is not a Marxist? Oh my god! Dugin isn't a Marxist? He's not a This isn't Marxism? That must mean it could have no possible place in the development of a Marxist thinking. Because, as you guys know, Marx was only influenced by Marxists. All the theorists of political economy were Marxists. Hegel was a Marxist. I mean, everyone Epicurus was a Marxist. Fucking Plato, Aristotle, they're all Marxist. Everyone that Clausewitz was a Marxist. Karl von Clausewitz was a Marxist. Everyone's a Marxist. Kant was a Marxist. Literally everyone was a Marxist that Marx was influenced by. Because how could Marx be influenced by thought that isn't Marxist? This isn't Marxism, Marx! We should have told that to Marx. When Marx was writing shit, we should have just said that. No, when Lenin was writing his work, Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism, and he's citing that British liberal as his, like, #1 inspiration and influence, you know, Kautsky should have just told Lenin, this isn't Marxism, Lenin. That guy's a liberal. Hobson is a liberal. This isn't Marxism, Lenin. This isn't Marxism. What a fucking genius. What a fucking genius this guy is. What a smart genius this fat fuck is. What a really fucking smart guy. What a really intelligent, smart fucking guy for pointing that out. So fucking smart. What insight. What riveting fucking insight. What riveting fucking insight.
Dugin does not call for the elimination of capitalism. He does not...
Dugin does not call for the elimination of capitalism. Yes, he does. But yes, he does. He does it all the fucking time. But this is what I want to focus my attention on. Basically, Dugin is claiming that communism failed and is dead, and that a fourth ideology, which he claims to not be expressly fascism, though it's rooted in fascism. Evidence that it's rooted in fascism? Because in the fourth political theory, which was written a decade after Fascism and Borderless and Red, he explicitly charts his own development of thought and how he broke with the third position. And it's no longer rooted in that at all. Must take hold. It's just a wacky repackaging of fascism and not communism. And as evidence of that, you point out his rejection of both fascism and communism. But where are you getting this idea that I'm alleging Dugin to be a communist?
If NonCompete was smart, he would insinuate that Dugin is a Narodnik instead of a modern socialist, but that would require him to know anything about Russia.
Thank you, Soapbox. Dugin is claiming that communism failed and is dead. Yeah, he is, because it was as far as he was concerned. You know what? I think even there, I'm kind of, knocking on an open door, overlooking the significance of Mao Zedong thought and the way it revolutionized Marxism-Leninism. Okay, you read my Substacks, The Brahmins of Democracy. I make it so clear all the fucking time why I think Dugin rejects communism, because of the obvious historical reality of communism in the Soviet context. And I always stress that the main thing Dugin was overlooking was the Chinese experience. His understanding of communism is limited by the Soviet experience, has always been my critique. And you'll find that in my video on Ben Norton. Okay. Right here. Okay. Right here. He's praising the Communist Party of China for doing what the Soviets couldn't. A truly progressive party. And he says, I want to bow before the wisdom of greatness of the Chinese Communist Party because they were able to do what the Soviets weren't. And he says it requires a profound re-examination of Marxism. Marxism played a very important role in the governance of the Chinese Communist Party. How do you explain this, Emmerich, you fucking idiot? Dugin has you explain it by saying Dugin actually has an open mind. Dugin has an open mind in a way you're not willing to appreciate. He's a man of his time and his context and his circumstance. But because you're this American fat chauvinist fuck, you're reducing Dugin to your little fucking discourse, Portland fucking Oregon shithole fucking political discourse at the book fair, instead of be someone who's a creature of his time.
Call for the uniting of the working class. So in what way is this socialism or communism? It's not. It's just fascism, and is using a lot of cheap rhetorical tricks here.
So it's either going to be communism or it's fascism. It couldn't possibly be the case that it's neither of those things. Okay, you know what? I'm putting this fucking guy on the spot. Hey, Emmerich. Is Iran a fascist or communist country? Because apparently it has to be one or the other. So is Iran communist? Which it's not. They denounce communism all the time. So does that mean it's fascist? Do you think Iran is a fascist country?
Here to try to rebrand and dress up fascism as communism, which is what fascists always do. And this is actually a really pathetic attempt at doing this if you pay...
When did I say Dugin was a capital C communist? Do I think Dugin is probably a non-Marxist communist? Yeah, he is. He is. Because communism predates Marxism. But it's just misleading to say that because the word communism with a capital C it refers to official communist parties, first of all, and is associated with Marxism-Leninism. But Dugin does call himself a non-Marxist communism, right? Communism without Marxism. is how he calls it.
Any attention to what Has is actually saying here, it's remarkable that anyone buys this shit at all. And the American Patriot
Look at this fat, disgusting, lying gerbil. What a disgusting fuck. What an absolutely disgusting fuck.
Socialists are enamored with Nick Land and Lyndon LaRouche. You will see them being...
Okay, name them. Name them. LaRouche, okay, we're tied to the Schiller Institute now. We have allies, we're allied with them, we're doing events with them now, so of course we're going to be fucking, you know, super influenced by LaRouche. And also we're Americans, so of course we're going to be influenced by LaRouche as American communists. LaRouche is a very American thinker. Any American communist worth anything is going to be engaging with LaRouche's ideas, obviously. Can you name me someone who has better policy ideas than LaRouche? I don't, there's no one. But the Nick Land thing is so weird, because it's like, what Patsock is a fan of Nick Land? It's literally just me. Jackson doesn't even know who Nick Land is. Caleb doesn't even fucking know who Nick Land is. Who the fuck is... like, among whom is Nick Land popular besides me?
Name dropped and referenced all over the place if you check out the villainous hive mind of the American Patriot Socialists on Twitter or YouTube, and prominent American Patriot Socialist thought leaders have name dropped them on many occasions.
I accuse communism and liberalism to be racist, at the same time not biological.
Imagine reading this shit. Let's go back to me. He's accusing Jackson of the Protocols of Elders of Zion because he uses the word globalist. Is the burden on us to justify or explain that leap? Because I don't think it is. So the homogenization of world culture is about the Great Replacement Theory. It's not about the import of Western values and culture to places like Russia, the Middle East, and China, and the world at large. It's actually about the Great Replacement Theory.
Cultural, or I think that universal.
I will make more videos connecting the dots between all these movements and figures moving forward. There's just a lot to cover. I think you're fucking bluffing, okay? Whatever videos you make, I'm going to shit on every single one. I'm going to fucking make sure none of your videos are going to be released. And none of them are going to get the traction you want them to. Boy.
Universalism is a kind of race.
What does LaRouche? How's it telling us here that he's a self-constructed philosophy which seeks to synthesize fascist ideology into Marxism? This is eclecticism, cynical and opportunistic sophistry to interject fascism into the movement. It's like they're retarded. I don't know what it is. It's like they're robots. I don't fucking know what it is. I don't. I literally don't know how you, like, unironically type this paragraph. How do you do it? I literally don't get it. I don't understand it. Can we argue if they're fascists or not? Or no, we have to... Okay, well, I guess they're fascists because you said so. But there's no debate about it. They're fascists. Okay, so we have accepted the premise that they're fascist. So accepting the easy premise that they're fascist, which is self-evident, non-negotiable, not subjected to the faculties of human reason, but is a self-evident divine truth that must be accepted, or else you literally are going to be marked for death, because all fascists cannot be reasoned with. And if you can call someone a fascist, you don't have to reason. You don't have to justify anything. We don't debate fascists, right? Okay, so I'm trying to synthesize fascist ideology into Marxism. What if I'm just trying to recontextualize the meaning of Marxism with the aid of these other perspectives? What if that's a completely different thing than synthesizing it? Thank you, Rupture.
He's strolling through a Viet Park talking about how the rural farmers are fascist. How ironic of this Aesop-worshipping rodent, pig nose.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm trying to synthesize fascist ideology into Marxism. There's no negotiation about whether they're fascist because we don't debate fascists, so we can't even use reason to justify it. We just have to take his word for it. And then second of all, it's eclectic to enrich one's mind with the treasures of all mankind, as Lenin told us to. I'm not synthesizing anything with Marxism, you fucking idiot. I'm insisting on the fact that Marxists take a great deal things for granted that are in no way inherently Marxist perspectives. The view, for example, that Western modernity and the terms thereof is the only possible context for the application of Marxism is not a Marxist view. It is actually a Eurocentric, prejudiced view that you have just presumed as self-evident without critical investigation. And that is one example of the ways Marxists, both historically and in the present, have taken things for granted absent any critical investigation. All I'm saying is that these other thinkers are providing vantage points and perspectives which would allow for a recontextualization of Marxism in the 21st century. And it would allow Marxism to be more exhaustive and more powerful than it currently is. And okay, so just keep that paragraph in mind, right? Keep that imperialism. Sorry, keep that thing in mind. The English economist, who in no way claims to be a Marxist, defines imperialism and reveals its contradictions, much more profoundly in a book published in 1902. This is what Hobson wrote on the question. The social liberal Hobson has more insight than the Marxist Kautsky. Okay, so according to this extremely spurious and indefensible form of reasoning, if you can even call it that, and don't wiggle your way out of it, because this is what your logic would mean if it was applied to Lenin. Your paragraph would say, Lenin is telling us that he is a self-constructed philosophy which seeks to synthesize social liberal ideology into Marxism. Now, would that be an appropriate thing to say? Why or why not? Would you say that Lenin was trying to synthesize liberal ideology into Marxism because he was deeply inspired by economists like Hobson when he wrote Imperialism, the Highest Stage of Capitalism? Can someone tell me, like, I'm literally a robot at this point. I've just destroyed him. This form of reasoning I'm using, this argument I'm deploying, is undefeatable. It is literally, it's like math. It's literally like mathematically. I am destroying this fucking idiot with mathematical precision. If you're not gonna fucking say Lenin is an eclectic who's synthesizing liberal ideology into Marxism, how are you justified in saying the same thing about me? You fucking idiot. Lenin didn't draw from any previous Marxist body of work to write imperialism. He had to apply Marxism in an entirely new way. And in order to do that, he had to explore non-Marxist perspectives, because that's what Marxists fucking do, because Marxists aren't cult fanatics who are dogmatically confined to a specific class or range of thinkers they call Marxist. Dugin, Nick Land, and, I guess whatever fascist boogeyman they make up. What do all of these things have in common? Why are Marxists so insecure in Marxism that they feel like every time someone is stepping outside of the bound... Look how he, look at this pussy. This is what a fat pussy. So he goes, he's arguing me and he's debating the clip, but he won't debate me, but he'll debate my clip with text. The reason communists reject fascist philosophy is because it is a false consciousness, pure and simple. Okay, wait a second, you fucking fat idiot. I'm not asking you why you reject these thinkers, who, mind you, are not fascists. But I'm not asking you why you reject them, because in a strict sense, I also reject their conclusions. So no one's asking you why you reject them. We're asking you why you pathologically ascribe them the status of being these dangerous fascists who we can't even read or think about. That's what I'm asking. Roll back the clip. Why are these thinkers forbidden? I'm not asking you to embrace all of their conclusions or agree with them. I'm just asking, why are they considered so taboo? Have in common. Why are Marxists so insecure in Marxism that they feel like every time someone is stepping outside of the bounds of institutional Marxism, there's some secret nefarious, ideal core that... Okay, so there you go. I'm not asking you why you reject these thinkers. I mean, what does it mean to reject or even accept thinkers? You blindly follow their conclusions? Do I do that with Nick Land, Dugin, or LaRouche? Clearly not, because I've said a lot of things that contradict their views on the world. A lot of things. But nobody's saying you have to accept their conclusions. We're asking, why do you pathologically ascribe the source of all of these thinkers some conspiratorial, nefarious, metaphysical force above and beyond the actual bounds of what they're actually saying? Why can't you just read them in good faith? Why do you have to ascribe them this pathos? Why do you have to make it seem like there's this conspiratorial force, this ideal core animating all of these different thinkers that's like this toxic puddle? If you touch it, you're fucking tainted. Where does that pathology come from? That's what I'm talking about. Now look what he says. Marx, Engels, Fanon, Kwame Ture, because I want to be inclusive, and I have to include an African guy because I'm a white guy who's guilty about being white, and I'm including Kwame Ture because I'm a white guilty guy. Ho Chi Minh, but he forgot Rosa Luxemburg, because that's what these woke Marxists always do. They always include Rosa Luxemburg because we need the token woman too. And countless other actually revolutionary communists have answered all the questions presented by Haas in this stream from a communist perspective. No, they haven't. No, they haven't. Marx and Engels didn't live long enough to answer these questions. Franz Fanon, Kwame Ture, and Ho Chi Minh, meanwhile, were dealing with entirely different issues. Now, if I'm going to talk about issues about decolonialism or post-colonial culture and post-colonial pathology, of course I'm going to cite Fanon and consult Fanon. But do you really mean to sit here and tell me that Ho Chi Minh has answered all of the questions relating to the geopolitics in the era of multipolarity, the paradoxical elliptical structure of the Russian logos, and deep aeonic nonlinear time? Where did Ho Chi Minh write about those things? Where did he write about those things? Please point me in the direction of Ho Chi Minh writing about all of those things. You really mean to tell me, hey, you don't, okay, just because you're a communist doesn't mean you've written about every fucking possible issue in the world. Just because you're a communist doesn't fucking mean you've fucking written about you fucking written about Freudian psychoanalysis. Fanon did, to be fair. Just because you're a communist doesn't fucking mean you're writing about interpretive dance theory. Just because you're a communist doesn't fucking mean you're writing about the specificities of culinary art. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you have this extremely deranged perspective where you think if you're influenced by someone who's not a communist. But here's my question. Who influenced Marx and Engels? Were they communists? Who influenced Franz Fanon? Freud? Lacan? Alexander Kojev? Carl Schmitt, who was a Nazi? Heidegger, who was also sympathetic with Nazism? Because if you're influenced by Kojev, that's a direct line of influence to Heidegger, just so you know. You mentioned Franz Fanon because he was a black guy, and you're a fucking white guilt pussy. But it never occurred to you that Fanon is also influenced by literal Nazis. You thought he would be safe just because he's black, you fucking racist, dumb fuck. Fucking idiot. What a stupid fucking racist idiot. And if Franz Fanon was alive today, he would be considered part of the MRA incel movement. Because Franz Fanon, his whole MO was masculinity. That was his whole fucking MO, was restoring masculinity to the post-colonial subject. Manhood. Franz Fanon defended the burqa. He defended the niqab. He defended it. Even the progressive Algerian FLN was like, yo, Franz, that shit is like medieval. Yo, we don't want that shit, man. It's outdated. Franz was like, nah, let's keep that shit. Franz Fanon was a goddamn Taliban. You know, he was on that extreme masculinity, okay? Okay, and I want to ask you another question. Who is Karl von Clausewitz? Was he a progressive? Was Karl von Clausewitz a communist? Was Karl von Clausewitz a communist? Then how could Lenin and Mao have been influenced by him? That makes no sense. Fucking idiot. Communists have answered all questions in the world, which is why every single one of these people were profusely influenced by non-communists. You fucking idiot. Why would all of these people have the answers to every possible question? Of course they're not. When have they ever displayed the conceit or the purport that this is the case, that this is actually what they think? When have they ever said that? Is motivating this person, that's some kind of secret. And like I'm telling you what I am. I'm telling you where I'm coming from. The thinking spirit. Here Haas directly contradicts Marx and Engels, who flatly rejected Hegelian notions of absolute truth as idealist nonsense. Engels obliterates the concept of absolute truth in Anti-Düring. Our minds, our soul even, I would say, is striving and longing for a sense of meaning that is worthy of that universal state. What is the universal truth of history? What is the universal truth of being? Did anyone else catch it? Do you want any more proof this guy's a fucking idiot? He wrote this soy raging on his keyboard because he doesn't know the distinction between absolute and universal truth. You know what universal truth is? Universal truth is ephemeral. Its form changes. Universal truth is not absolute. It is divisible because it's suspended in the process of its development. You fucking idiot. And by the way, just because I'm talking about the thinking spirit condemns me as talking about idealist nonsense, then how do you explain Soviet thinkers like Evald Ilyenkov, who I'm basically directly referencing here, who is a literal Soviet philosopher? Is Evald Ilyenkov now a fucking Nazi and a fascist? And by the way, this is what's beautiful. This is the best part. This searching for meaning doesn't belong to the realm of philosophy. It belongs to the realm of phenomenology, which is actually not about concepts and ideas. You could argue it could be about psychology, meaning. What is meaning? That is not a question Marx and Engels directly deal with, believe it or not. There you can get Heidegger, who asked, Haas channels Heidegger, a literal Nazi whose philosophy was strongly and overtly anti-Marxist. Heidegger rejected historical and dialectical materialism, as does Haas. If Emmerich Johnson debated me about dialectical or historical materialism, I would prove within the first 7 minutes, and I'll bet you $5,000, whatever charity he wants, that he doesn't believe in it himself because he doesn't even know what it fucking is. And I can prove that in 7 minutes. Probably less. 5. Really. 5 minutes I could prove he doesn't know what that is. Didn't this retard, along with his dumb fucking wife, his idiot bird brain wife, didn't they fucking say some shit like, dialectical materialism is when you look for facts. Empiricism, that's dialectical materialism. Didn't they say some dumb shit like that? So, okay, look at this deranged sentence. Look at his deranged sentence. Haas channels Martin Heidegger, a literal Nazi whose philosophy was strongly and overtly anti-Marxist. Actually, Heidegger did not care much for Marxism. He did make tangential remarks about the Lukácsian version of Marxism that he was exposed to, but in no way can his philosophy be called inherently anti-Marxist because Marxism is not what it's about. It's not dealing with the same things Marxism deals with, plain and simple. It's just not. Second of all, Franz Fanon was influenced by Martin Heidegger because, and if that's not a direct influence, all of the people he was influenced by and influenced were influenced directly by him. Alexander Kojev, Jacques Lacan, Ali Shariati, the Iranian who Fanon corresponded with, was also deeply influenced by Heidegger. Heidegger influenced the entire generation of post-war continental thinkers, and a majority of whom were, by the way, Marxists in some capacity. So if you are going to accuse me of this, all of those other Marxists of the post-war period who were Heideggerians, or were influenced by Heidegger, I should rather say, who were Marxists, you have to condemn them as Nazis too, because Heidegger was a literal Nazi. And because Heidegger rejected historical and dialectical materialism, and he didn't say the Shahada and convert to the faith of historical and dialectical, like look at this form of guilt he's saying. Because Heidegger was not a historical and dialectical materialist, that indicts him as criminal. And furthermore, it also indicts me as rejecting historical and dialectical materialism. So, for example, if Pythagoras rejected historical and dialectical materialism because he didn't adopt it, that means the Pythagorean theorem, which is like an axiom of all geometry that's used today, has to be rejected. Geometry's wrong because Pythagoras didn't fucking accept historical and dialectical materialism. You know what this guy is? You know what's crazy? This is what boggles my mind. He's acting like he's like some Salafist Marxist when he's literally a fucking anarchist. He's not even a Marxist. He's acting like this crazy Salafist. Literally, this is Salafist logic, by the way. But he's not even a fucking Marxist. He's an anarchist. So where does it come from? Except trying to fucking spew bullshit. Where does it even fucking come from? The question of being. That's just one variant, right? What is the truth of universal history and its striving? That's how Kojev reconciled Hegel and Heidegger, because that's Hegel, the teleology of history, right? That's what Hegel's dealing with. The development of spirit. Where does that culminate to? Thank you, Dimitri.
American leftists are extremely ideologically insecure, so they have to take everything outside of their institutional politics to some absurd extreme.
Yeah, you're right, Dimitri. Thank you. Thank you all, that is solid. Appreciate you. In this universal state, we are inherently disposed. We are inherently longing. This Heideggerian framing of humanity is currently at the end of history. You mean the Kojevian framing, because that's what Alexander Kojev is famous for, not Heidegger. Heidegger, even if he said that about America and cybernetics, he's not famous for that. Kojev is. So that's Kojev, you fucking idiot. As the great Jordan Peterson said, such details matter when the accusations start flying. You fucking idiot. Anyway, contradicts Marxism entirely. And this is how it contradicts Marxism according to the anarchist. It contradicts Marxism, even though Marxism posits that the struggle between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie is the final historical struggle. Capitalism is the last mode of production defined by the reign of private property, the state, and is literally the culmination of history. Marx and Engels believed that the end of history would come only when capitalism ends. You don't know what the end of history means, you fucking idiot. That's just the problem. You don't even know what it means. The end of history isn't like a utopia it's not a state of affairs. It's the end of history. It's where human beings are confronted with the end of history, which is in capitalism. And by the way, where do they say that? Where do they say that? I don't think they ever said that. The concept of the end of history is developed by Alexander Kojev. If you want to understand what it means, read Kojev. Which is drawing from Hegel, yes. But this is Kojev's Hegel. What a fucking idiot. It would come only when capitalism ends. First of all, what great dialectics. What does it mean for capitalism to end when the germ of capitalism's transition to another mode of production is literally developing within capitalism itself? And this is so clear in Marx and Engels' thinking that Engels ad verbatim, not Nick Land, he literally describes it as the invading mode of production from the future, the invading socialist mode of production. Engels describes the way in which capitalism is transitioning into a socialist mode of production, and the way he describes it isn't by this undialectical view that there's this red line that's going to happen, and then, oh, it's the end of capitalism, and now we're starting something completely new. That's not dialectical. Dialectics deals with the transition from quantity into quality, and that means within the capitalist mode of production, there is a socialistic tendency which only transforms the quality of the mode of production when it prevails or becomes hegemonic through its quantitative expansion or its quantitative development. That's basic dialectics. You're trying to lecture me about dialectical materialism. I can take you to school dozens of times over about dialectical materialism, you fucking amateur bitch. But you don't even know the basics of how to apply it with logic. You don't even know how to apply that to anything. You dumb bitch. You don't even know how to apply the thing you're accusing me of rejecting. Well, you can't reject it if you don't even know what it is, you dumb fuck. Which you don't. He's literally talking out of his ass. He's talking out of his ass from a perspective of ignorance. He's never read Heidegger. He's never read Alexander Kojev. He's not in a qualified position to make any qualitative judgment about any of these people and what relation they might bear to Marxism. All he's doing is applying this extremely rigid, dogmatic, binary form of thinking, according to which the extent to which I'm going to recognize the significance of these thinkers is the extent to which they don't pledge overt allegiance to the platitudes I've contrived and abstracted from Marxism. So I'm going to take all these tropes and platitudes and phrases from Marxism, and it's going to be like a red line. Do you accept this? Do you accept the Shahada? No? Behead you. It's literally ISIS Marxism. It's literally ISIS Marxism that he's peddling. As an anarchist, by the way. For an equally universal sense of meaning that permeates across the whole of history. We want an explanation for what history was. Now people say, well, Hans, what about Marxism, which describes the class struggle? We have achieved the end of history. We are living in a post-historical world. Okay, so he skips it because he doesn't want people to see what I actually fucking said. But the class struggles in capitalism is seen by Marx and Engels as a great barrier, and once capitalism is overthrown, then humanity can begin to develop answers to higher questions and embark on greater endeavors. What does this extremely vague claim have to do with anything I'm saying? When Marx and Engels talk about humanity embarking on greater endeavors in a future mode of production, like for example, because I actually can cite my sources. You probably are talking out of your ass, but I could actually cite something from Marx which bears some vague similarity to this. For example, when he writes about how in his humanist writings, when he writes about the human era, right, of history, will entail a complete science of man, where we will explore every aspect of the species being and every aspect of man's existence. We will develop a true knowledge of man, and so on and so on, a practical knowledge of man's essence. But that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that in this specific era, which is a different historical era, mind you, than the one Marx and Engels lived in, and please go tell someone in Vietnam we live in the same fucking era as the 1800s and have them spit and laugh in your face like you're fucking retard you are. But what you're actually saying amounts to this deranged idea that we have to artificially limit the scope of our human curiosity and the extent of our thinking because there is a prophetic eschatological event that's going to happen far out into the future, until which all of these questions are prohibited and taboo. I'm sorry, like that's a cult. That's literally a cult. You're saying we have to limit the extent of our human abilities artificially, and we're not allowed to explore these questions because capitalism hasn't ended yet. Now, if you were going to say these questions were impossible, that would be one thing, but they're clearly not impossible because humanity is being confronted with them, has been confronted with them since at least the post-war period. And furthermore, these are things you are directly in 4K witnessing me engage with. So it's not like you're saying, if you were saying like, oh, capitalism makes it impossible to ask these questions, you could only say that if you weren't showing a clip of me asking these questions. You fucking idiot. Clearly I am. So either we live in capitalism and you're wrong, or we don't live in capitalism anymore. So you can, either way, I'm fine with whatever thing you say, but the inevitable conclusion is that you're fucking wrong. Only then can humanity. So like, what a fucking like mind. What a like disgusting Philistine, mind-rotting worldview this fucking guy has, this fat fuck has. We have to submit to him and his cult, which is promising us some event is gonna happen in the future, and until that event happens, like every question we ask is a fascist question. Not a determinate, like meta-historical narrative underpinning the whole of history. And Emmerich, by the way, you fucking retard, if what you're saying is true, why has every successful independent political movement, I'm not talking about this bullshit in Latin America funded by NGOs, but independent political movement that has emerged at least post 1970s, why has it been necessary for them to deal with this question? For example, in Islamism, they have to deal with the question of historical Islam and what relation we bear to that. Everywhere you go that you see an incipient, independent political movement arise in this specific era of the post-Bretton Woods period we live in, these existential questions have been fundamental parts of them. There's not one exception. Even in China, they have to situate the experience of the 20th century in the broader, thousands-year-long history of Chinese civilization. And I'm sure Vietnam, which is a revisionist country that is deeply nationalistic in a chauvinistic sense oftentimes, does the same thing, especially in the context of its disputes with China. It has to go back to this ancient history and ask the question of this whole ancient whatever. It's not an ontological understanding. It's not encompassing in its universality in terms of the universal state. It belongs to... The class struggle doesn't really give us any meaning. See, all history being a history of class struggle doesn't make history meaningful. It doesn't. So I'll begin with LaRouche. So LaRouche has his idea of the oligarchic principle and the republican principle. And this takes the form of expression. This is why Marx and Engels define history in terms of class struggle, and this is the nature of class consciousness in Marxism. We don't yet seek answers to these grandiose questions because capitalism stands in our way. No, it fucking doesn't. It doesn't stand in our way. It doesn't stand in our fucking way in any capacity. Why? What's the proof? Because I'm literally citing thinkers who are asking these questions. You know what? You say we don't yet seek these. Can you cite me in Marx and Engels where they say this? Can you cite your fucking sources? Is it coming out of your disgusting swamp ass, or is it coming from Marx and Engels? Please cite your sources that this is Marxism. That you're saying right here, where we don't ask questions until we overthrow capitalism. What? Yeah, thought ends until we overthrow capitalism. How are you overthrowing capitalism? We're just gonna like make everything a cooperative. Like we don't overthrow capitalism, retard. Capitalism is replaced by virtue of its own contradictions. What you're talking about is a political revolution of overthrowing the bourgeois state, you fucking idiot. We don't fucking overthrow capitalism. We overthrow the bourgeois state to oversee an inevitable transition into the next mode of production. Marxism 101. 101. You fucking idiot. Of Aristotle versus Plato. And before you can justify that, you need to sell it to the masses. You're not going to fucking do it with dogmatic orthodox Marxism of the revisionist Second International, by the way. Marx and Engels define history in terms of class struggle. No one denied that. But they did not concern themselves with the question of the meaning of history. They didn't concern themselves with that. Why? Because defining history in terms of class struggle is just an impartial scientific view. By the way, I didn't reject that. I'm just saying it's not enough. Of course, I presuppose all history is a history of class struggle. But what does that mean? What does that actually mean? That is not already answered in Marx and Engels' writings, because they didn't need to answer it, because they weren't living in the phenomenological era of information technology, which is a type of productive forces that literally confronts us with the Heideggerian question of meaning all the fucking time. Not as some fucking abstract philosophy, but like literally in real time. For LaRouche. And these two tendencies have been struggling with one another across the whole fabric of history. And guess what? LaRouche is right. That pattern is there. That is a very observable pattern, right? The way in which the oligarchic tendency versus the kind of republican, or let's call it the principle of the emperor / the republic versus the oligarchy. Yeah, that's a very clear pattern in history. It is, okay? So he's on. But he seems far more familiar with fascist philosophers like Dugin, LaRouche, and Heidegger than he does with these basic principles of Marxist philosophy. So where is it a principle of Marxist philosophy that until you overthrow capitalism, you can't ask these questions? Thank you, Janar. Where is it? I'm denying that it is, you fucking idiot. Hayes doesn't know that Marx and Engels said all history is the history of class struggle. Okay, you know what? Sick of retards. This is shit you learn when you're 13 years old. You learn this when you're 13 years old. This is rudimentary knowledge. You're not special because you read Marx and Engels. Everyone reads Marx and Engels in a fucking university. Everyone reads them. If you're a modern thinker, everyone reads Marx and Engels. Everyone. You're not fucking special or knowledgeable. Everyone reads them. Stupid fucking midwit. Stupid fucking midwit. What is the ground of class struggle? Within what context is the class struggle waged? Within what context of the development of history is class struggle waged? These are questions not inherent already in Marx's and Engels' thinking. The form of the class struggle. You actually have to investigate that. What form does the historical class struggle, from a meta-historical perspective, what form does it take? What are the patterns throughout the history of class struggle? As far as the form it takes is concerned, these are the questions that you're saying are forbidden questions from the perspective of Marxist principles. Which Marxist principles? Where? Where are these forbidden questions? Onto something there. Also, with Aristotle versus Plato, he's also onto something very clearly. LaRouche also. LaRouche has a very coherent, universal, all-encompassing world. Okay. Even if you hate LaRouche, you can agree with this. He has a universal, all-encompassing worldview. He has a very exhaustive view of history and the world, whether you agree with it or not. So what does this have to do with him not liking Marx? It's not non... Okay. Do I have to pull up what Marx said about the Mexicans? About the Slavs? And about Lassalle? Do I have to point out... Do I have to pull up the Lassalle letter? Emmerich? What's your point? I mean, he's so weird. He's like, LaRouche is canceled. Okay, he said problematic things that are like, well, what does this have to do with like what I'm talking about here? Nonsense. It's not schizo nonsense. It's not some cult.
Everyone look at the cancelable things he said.
Where people just believe in it because of his authority. No!
Oh my god! Oh my god, a paragraph! This sums up all of LaRouche's thought. All of it! The fact that someone would say this defines the entirety of their thinking! How abhorrent!
He has a very coherent worldview.
The wannabe cult leaders of the AMPAT stock.
But what was the point of showing those quotes? What did it have to do with what I said? He has a very coherent, exhaustive worldview, which is consistent. You can disagree with it. Even those quotes can be placed in its consistency, at least in a certain point of his thinking, and a certain point of the development of his thinking. So, I don't see what it has to do with my point. I feel like retard leftists. Is this okay? Or is it totally not okay? Is this acceptable? Or is it cancelable? Is this wholesome Chungus? Or is this totally yikesy? I mean, like, that's literally how their brains work. I'm not kidding. That's literally how their brains work. This is literally how their mind works. This is literally the nature of their brain. I'm not kidding. I think doctors should investigate it. I actually think like this is it's a really abnormal, strange thing that needs to be studied in a lab because it's so fucking bizarre that people can think like this. What is his point? Okay, LaRouche is totally canceled on Twitter. Hashtag LaRouche is over party. Let's not even think about anything he said in terms of like the substance of his thinking. We're not going to pay it any attention. He said some bad things. Some yikesy little paragraphs. It's all over. By the way, will you hold this standard to Marx too? Because I can show you a lot of yikesy things he said. Thank you all, that is all.
Families cross the street when they see this thing coming.
Hey, Emmerich, what did Marx call Lassalle? What did Marx say about Mexicans? What did he say about Slavs? What did Engels say about lower races, quote unquote? Okay. What about all the thinkers whose insights you either take for granted or agree with? Do I have to pull up the history of everything they fucking said? And like, you know what this is? This is like imagine someone saying some shit like, so Isaac Newton discovers this thing called gravity. And then someone puts a quote of Isaac Newton saying like, yeah, women are retarded and they all belong in jail. Okay. But what's your point though? You know? What is the relation between what the person said in the quote? Like I talked about LaRouche's idea of the oligarchic principle versus the Republican principle. Okay, but what does that have to do with fellatio, Emmerich? Can you please explain the connection?
Recently launched the most cringe psyop I've seen on the internet, and that's really saying something, in the form of what they call Maga.
Okay, so guys, he's triggered by it a lot. Please keep it up. This is the only reason he made this video. He's really fucking triggered about it. Please keep it up. Please keep it up. Okay? Keep it up. Don't stop. Do not stop whatever you do, because he's super fucking triggered by it, and that's why he made this. So, and I'm saying on Twitter, keep it up. It's been trending for like a week now, and I want us to keep this trending for a month. 1 month of MAGA communism. The month of September is the MAGA communist month. It needs to stay trending for 1 month.
Basically, they're making the case that Marxists should unite with MAGA fascists to overthrow the elite globalists, as they say. And boy howdy, if you don't hear the anti-Semitic dog whistle, perhaps you should clean out your dog ears. Or maybe you just lived a normal...
So this is the next part that I'm featured in.
Choose to single out that specific billionaire alongside that specific organization, claiming that they control the governments of the world along with the global elites. I mean, especially when you're doing it on fucking reference the fact that after being banned from Twitch, he now streams on Cozy.tv, the streaming platform of avowed white supremacist.
Is this truthful or is it a lie? He said he streams on Cozy.tv. Okay. Where's the stream? When did he stream on Cozy.tv? Oh, I mean, you mean to say he has an account there, just like I do. Which, even if we streamed on it, who gives a fuck? But I'm just trying to point out how easy it is for this fat fuck to just lie about things. Jackson hasn't streamed, as far as I know, he hasn't streamed there. I've never streamed there.
An anti-Semite, Nick Fuentes, along with...
If we haven't even streamed there, what is the chat of our channel? What does that have to do with us? We just made accounts there. We're getting deplatformed from everything. So hold on. He said, after getting banned from Twitch, Jackson Hinkle is now streaming on Cozy.tv. That was determined to be a lie. The lie detector determined that was a lie. Because it was a fucking lie. Because Jackson streams on YouTube and Rumble exclusively.
Misogynist LaRoucheite Nazbol two holes has.
Thank you,
I'm
Asher.
literally going in on November 8th and voting every Trump-endorsed candidate. Maga communism. Flexed bicep.
I'm not gonna stop you.
Bicep.
All right, guys,
Headstrong
let's see this.
LKG1.
This is really bad, guys. Hold on, let's watch this.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
How many holes does a woman have from the waist down?
2.
Okay, so what are those holes used for?
Can we zoom even more for more dramatic evidence? Because it's like, this is crazy. But I don't, yeah, my one critique is it's not zoomed in enough. I don't feel like people get it, you know? You need to zoom in a little more. Poop and pee?
Where's the sex one, dude?
The pee one. Okay.
Oh my
And while we're on the
What was that? Like, we're watching this entire video of him, like, coping about fascism. Okay, like, that really happened. I guess it did. I guess it did. Okay. What a weird thing. What a weird, like, okay. Yeah, I really was on Twitch. Yup. I really was on Twitch. I did stream on Twitch. And this is this is the face of a man satisfied with having done that. Look at this. This is the face of a man satisfied that he just owned me. Look at this. He really thinks he just owned me. He really thinks this was like the most cool thing he's ever done in his fucking life was post that clip. Look at his face. He really just owned me. Oh my god. What a really smart guy. Holy shit. This is like, whoa. This is so, like, crazy. Oh my god. This guy, like, this makes him look so good, alright?
cringe-inducing subject of has, I think it's hilarious that these guys crow about the evils of the World Economic Forum.
The cringe-inducing subject that is has. Emmerich, I'm just gonna tell you straight up, you're a bitch. You are a bitch. I'm calling you a bitch in front of 400 people. You're a bitch. You're a pussy. We all know that. But you're like straight up bitch made. You and your idiot wife. You and your idiot bird. I'm calling your wife an idiot, dude. I'm calling your wife, your literal wife, an idiot. What are you gonna do? Nothing. Your literal wife, I'm calling her an idiot. She is an idiot. Your wife is an idiot. Your wife is an idiot, Emmerich. And please don't talk about holes. Because judging by how you look, I don't know where yours have been.
Forum day in and day out, then go on to hang out on shows
Oh, this is why he's so angry. Look, I was on CGTN.
hosted by associates and advocates of, you guessed it, the World Economic Forum.
He got this from the Patsock Dems. Like, this is like a smoking gun. Okay. Yeah, it must be Klaus Schwab himself. I don't. Did you know that Putin was a member of the World Economic Forum? Did you know it's like this really prestigious thing that people are invited to and can be members of? But what does that have to do with the way the agenda of the World Economic Forum is set? Do you think Wang Guan is setting the agenda for the World Economic Forum? He's not. I mean, what's the point of this? I don't get it. There's people from China in the World Economic Forum because it claims to represent, global economic development. The significance of the World Economic Forum isn't that there's people who are members of it. It's how the agendas are set and where those agendas come from, which it's not like some council of democratic decision-making. It's coming from the Western elites. Okay? What does this prove? What does this prove? I mean, like, even if I was politically in disagreement with him, why wouldn't I go on CGTN? Like, what does this prove? I don't get what this proves. So I went on CGTN. I went on the news. And that means what? What does that mean? I went on CGTN, okay? So because CGTN isn't infrared, that makes me look bad somehow, or hypocritical, or like you're gonna play the boom 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 music where like I took an L or something. How did I take an L, by the way, from this? What L did I take by going on CGTN? Please explain that. Haz, you talk bad about the World Economic Forum, but there's a news show you went on, hosted by someone who's a member of the World Economic Forum. Yes! Do you think that's contradictory somehow?
The Vietnamese economy and government have a symbiotic relationship with the World Bank. Vietnamese socialism debunked.
Okay, so non-compete is using computers. But the computers weren't made under communism. He's a fraud. What a bitch. He's using a computer and an iPhone made under capitalism. What a fucking bitch. Someone give me that music. Somebody give me that sound effect. Because like everything you do in life has to completely exactly reflect your ideology. Everything. Everything in your life must be your ideology. And if it's not, we're going to play the music.
Vietnam is all
Thank you,
over
Chris
the West,
Morlock.
by the way. They attended officially a half-dozen times in the last decade.
I don't get this retarded argument he's using here. I don't get it.
This is what American patriot socialism is really all about. It's reckless ideological nihilism, a complete lack of coherency in principles and worldview, and a seething disdain for truth. Sure, there's a lot of hand-waving about leftist values, a lot of surface-level aesthetic stuff. They love to throw around words like imperialism, and they like to LARP as understanders of the working class and Marxism, but there's no legitimate Marxist philosophy to be found anywhere in their ideology whatsoever. Just this weird fever dream of Nazism and American jingoism filtered through a haze of pseudo-Marxist buzzwords and some hand-waving about how hate-filled petty bourgeois Trump supporters are the real working class and we should unite with Maga to...
Look at his soy facial expressions. Look at this soy, like... Oh. Whoa! What? Oh my. Oh me, oh my. Oh wow. Wow. That's a certified Mr. Krabs moment. That's a certified Mr. Krabs moment. That is a certified Eugene Krabs moment of the insert. Thank you, Hot Take. Appreciate you so
Missed
much.
a lot of live streams lately due to work securing the bag. Maga communism is war on the Anglo box and war on internet ideological bubbles. This sexpat anarchist is existentially threatened by this meme. Like a cornered animal, the left lashes out, but there is
Thank
no
you, Hot
stopping
Take,
this.
man.
Gorilla.
Appreciate you, man. This is a certified red Eugene Krabs moment. Oh, God. Hey, Hayes, if you're such a communist, why do you make all this money? Oh, my God. Eugene Krabs moment. Me, oh, my. Ain't it good being a capitalist? Me, oh my. That's a Eugene. I'm Krabs moment. I'm not a capitalist. I'm a socialist entrepreneur. To be rich is glorious. Follow the party, build your business. We're talking about Gucci, communism. Okay. It's all going to Pokemon, by the way. Anyway. There is an argument that they make, I'm going to also address, which goes along the lines of, how can you call Vietnam revisionist when you're influenced by all these non-Marxist thinkers? Well, revisionism isn't defined by being influenced by non-Marxist thinkers. Revisionism is defined by a fundamental deviation from Marxism, not only in theory, but in practice. So the reason Vietnam is revisionist is because it has compromised the proletarian dictatorship. So the essence of communistic praxis, for example, has been compromised by Vietnam. Vietnam has subordinated its society to globalism. So these are fundamentals. Now, being influenced by non-Marxist thinkers doesn't make you revisionist. Fundamentally deviating from Marxism and capitulating to the powers that be is revisionist. Hope it helps.
overthrow the Jews? I mean,
What? What? No comment. What do you even student? He's like a you know this is like a fucking homeless man in Vietnam. He's just like a random fucking homeless man rambling in the park about random shit.
globalist elites. That's the ticket. I mean, it means nothing more than defense of the privileges of the dominant nation and police.
Okay, what does this have to do with anything? Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think that's what you're doing. When you defend the actual FBI and you defend the hegemonic institutions of the bourgeoisie, I think that's what you're doing. But who knows? I'm pretty sure Lenin was talking about, like, you know, Dugin, rather than people who were capitulating to the political powers that be. I'm pretty sure Lenin was talking about, like, Dugin. Yeah, we've always advocated, because we're so pro-imperialist, right? It's like, there's a lot of quotes here. Where's the significance? We take nothing from bourgeois culture and bourgeois nationalism. Sorry, we take them only in opposition to bourgeois culture and bourgeois nationalism. Okay? Bourgeois nationalism is the Democratic Party. Maga is not bourgeois nationalist. You want to call it reactionary? Call it reactionary. It's not bourgeois nationalist. If you think Maga's bourgeois, you don't know what the bourgeoisie is. Or petty bourgeois. You don't know what those things even are. The tail of the movement is not defined by the level of how woke you are, something Lenin didn't give a fuck about, but how willing you were to challenge the political powers that be in the development of the political class struggle. How willing you are to challenge the state. MAGA is calling for the abolition of the FBI. The left is defending it. So who's the tail and who's the head? You decide. But I don't trust you to decide because you're a fat retard. Yeah, did you read the full quote though? Where he says, this is the problem at the head, like the professional managerials, as we would say it today, and that at the lower levels of the English working class, it still has revolutionary potential. So this is like the baristas. Yeah, the baristas are becoming more bourgeois. Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's not talking about the rule.
Quotes are very
Thank you all that I saw. He's not talking about... You know what? Let's find that quote. And this is in 1858. So he doesn't write about this here. He writes about it elsewhere. He writes about it elsewhere. But he does write that in the lower parts of the working class movement, there's potential for rejuvenation of the movement. It's like ad verbatim, the word he uses. But it's not in that specific piece.
End up siding with capital against their own interests. If you need evidence...
Oh my god, look at this. It's doubled. Okay, what does this have to do with anything? Nothing. How is this a critique of us at all? His critique of economism applies to us how? Well, maybe he's trying to say we're class reductionists. Yeah, you realize we're like libertarian constitutionalists who want to abolish the FBI and the CIA and to severely restrict and limit the scope of not only the police, but government in general. So how are we just economists? I don't get it. Here's Michael Parenti, who's he seems like this is the symbol of copers right now on Twitter, because they think he's like some like holy doctrinal authority rather than a very good popularizer of Marxist ideas and communist ideas. I'll give you that, but he's not. Okay, this is another clip of me.
The driving force of the socialist movement stronger or weaker? You decide.
There are only two holes. Whoa!
I do everything for the clout. You will never see me do something not for the clout.
There are only two holes.
Wait, so this is what we're gonna decide based on this.
Whoa!
My approach is like be the nice guy, but at the end of the day, it's all a facade.
So you're saying you objectify women on the low? Cost just seems
I told you like 3 times on this stream that I'm literally engaged in exploiting women for their clout at this point in my life.
There are only two holes. Whoa!
By the end of our relationship.
These guys are so ridiculous. You know what? These guys can't represent. They're not helping the movement at all. Look at how ridiculous they are.
Your confidence shattered.
Poop and pee?
Your bank account.
Oh my god, he said poop and pee. These guys are ridiculous. Poo poo pee pee. Nah. That still makes me chuckle. Poop. I am a 38-year-old man. So ridiculous.
Emptier than it is right now.
The
P one.
Huh? He said pee. Pee. I am a 45-year-old man. I clipped all of this because it's so funny.
Will be the one who comes out on top. The real question is whether or not you have followers for me to exploit.
There are only two holes.
The 2-hole meme. The 2-hole meme. I am 39 years old and doing this on YouTube. Alright, man. Give it up for NonCompete with his great video. How many views is it at? I hope it's at a lot of views now. Oh, wow. 5,000 views. So it only took... So when we started, it was at 4,000. Get this, guys. So we started 2.5 hours ago. This video's... Okay, I give this video something. It's actually growing pretty fast. Like 2.5 hours passed, and it's only got 900 more views. This is a really successful video, honestly. Luna is still... I hope... Remember when Luna said I'm giving her trauma and I'm exploiting trauma? This video is exploiting Luna's trauma. From American imperialism. Please take it down. Okay. Alright, guys. Alright, guys. Alright, guys. Alright, guys. Okay, you wanna know what would be funny? I think it'd be funny if my video got more views than his. Wouldn't that be funny? That'd be funny. Imagine if mine got more views than his. That'd be really funny, actually. That'd honestly be hilarious. It'd be so funny. Alright, guys. Bye-bye. Okay, one thing I'll say about non-compete, he does have, okay, one thing about Marxism he did get correct. So I'm going to let this donation go through. Because I am a greedy Mr. Krabs motherfucker. Oh, it's not even, he didn't even say anything. Fuck him then. No, thank you so much, W11. I appreciate you, man. Guys,
Based.
one thing I'll say that he did, he did kind of impress me. That, his knowledge of Marxism is pretty good. When it comes to his, there's one part of the video where he did prove he knows something about Marxism. And the thing that he knows a lot about, the thing he knows about Marxism